Oh, I've lost my intro. Hello and welcome back to another episode from the All About the Balls teams. We are four mates who love rambling about sport and who at some point decided that our ramblings needed an audience, and so we started a podcast. Tonight we've got a great show ahead of us, including some discussion about our favourite coaches and who we think the best one ever is. And we've also got a bit of a chat about which rules we would love to change in our favourite sports. And then the highlight, the Quizmaster Phil is back with another masterpiece for us. And this week I personally am baying for blood after 2 weeks of dismal quiz performances. But before we get carried away, let me introduce you to the real talent on the show, Gareth, Boise and Phil. Gentlemen, how are you all? How are you?
Thank you, Ollie. I'm very well. Lovely to be here with you.
Lies. We're all depressed. This is bullshit. What the hell is going on with the world? When can I leave my...
It's always, Ollie's very thoughtful always, isn't he? Very thoughtful.
He is, yeah. Very pensive.
Putting our needs before everyone else.
I care about you guys.
I left the house today for the first time since Saturday because we needed some bread and milk. So I walked to our local shop, and people did not observe the 2 metre distance. I did an awful lot of tutting.
Excellent.
And raising of eyebrows at people who were probably infecting me, rather than just at one point I really got close to saying no 2 meters, but instead I went. Oh.
Were you tempted to lie on the ground to illustrate the 2 meters?
Unfortunately, I'd have had to get close to them to do it. But yeah,
you stand there. Get everyone come round. You stand there. I'll lie down, and you stand there. This is 2 meters, everyone.
I imagine you're quite dramatic when people get a bit too close. A bit like a dive in football. You're kind of like, whoa, stand back.
Yeah. Did you see that? Did you see that?
Ref. VAR.
I never touched him.
VAR.
Neymar of Waitrose.
I think people are just getting a bit bored, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think these people were too thick. That's my issue with them. I don't think they understood. But yeah, generally, everyone, it's boring, isn't it? It's really boring. Yeah, it's really dull.
We've gone through that initial phase of like, oh, this is a little bit new and exciting. It's scary, sure, but like it's new and exciting. Now it's just like, oh, for the love of, come on.
Yeah.
What is
it's definitely the fact that we don't know when the next step is, or it's going to end this phase or anything. I think that's what's killing people more than if you said it's all.
That's even. Yeah, even if you knew it was 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. You could just compartmentalise. Yeah, boys.
Anyway, I have got a couple of funny stories. Well, I hope they're funny stories for you guys, to give you a little bit of an insight into my week. So the first one was I had to go to the doctors earlier on this week. I need to get a couple of blood tests done, so I need to go and pick up the form to take to the hospital. And at the surgery, what they've done is you can't get in. Basically, when you get there, you have to press the buzzer, speak to the receptionist, and then they call you in when it's your appointment, or they come out with the form that you need to take off to the hospital to do the blood test. And I got there, and there was another guy waiting who was ahead of me in the queue, kind of thing. And we did observe the distancing. He was very good. He backed away from me and gave me my space. And we got chatting and things like that. And then the receptionist came out and gave me my form because I didn't need to go and I could just bugger off. And then for some reason, I turned to the guy, and this is not a common Ollie phrase at all. And I meant to say, cheers, bye, take care of yourself. And I turned to him and went, good luck, and walked on. And in this kind of situation, that's not great to say to someone, as if like the zombie apocalypse is here. But also, someone who's about to walk into a doctor's surgery as well. I thought, that is not. And as I was walking away to the car, I was like, that is not on, man. That is really not cool.
He just starts crying.
Yeah.
What do you know? What do you know?
Yeah. Look at him. Best luck,
saw the result of your name, mate. Not good. Good luck.
Are your affairs in order? I mean, what am I doing? So that was one thing that made me sort of laugh and also feel a bit horrified. The other thing is, do you guys know the fitness thing, Peloton?
Yes. Well, I know it. I've never dabbled, let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, so they now are doing the app for free. So you don't have to get the old the bike and like that. You get the app for free for like 90 days, and it's got loads of exercise classes on there and stuff. So I thought I'll give that a go, and I've been doing some running with the Peloton classes in my ear, and I have learned a couple of quite disturbing things about myself since doing this Peloton stuff. So for those who don't know, it's just an exercise class with someone talking at you as you do, like trying to be your instructor and stuff like that. So I've been doing these half-hour interval runs. And to begin with, I am definitely this very English man who is like, don't tell me what to do. Like some really peppy American guy is in my ear going, that's it, come on, you can go faster, come on. I'm like, thank you, Matty, I fucking can't, all right?
I don't know how long this is going to last.
If I could, I would. I really would, but I can't, all right? So why don't you fuck off? And he's like, oh, I'm there with you. He's like, no, you're not. I can't see you. I can't see you at all. You're nowhere. But then, this is the really disturbing bit, is then as I get on, I actually start craving his approval. So when it goes on later and he's like, come on, you've got a little bit left. I'm like, yes, I have. I can do it. And I want to make him proud. And I finished one run like a couple of days ago. And he said, give yourself a pat on the back. And I genuinely reached over. And I just caught myself. I'm like, oh, Ollie.
I've never heard someone have a breakdown live before.
No. And
that was extraordinary.
It was. And I mean, the three of us just sat there just absorbing this situation. But what is better, and I wanted you to finish the story before can I raise my hand? I've got some questions, yeah?
Yes.
Two things. I thought Peloton was for like a stationary situation with a screen. So
spinning, isn't it?
Yeah. So first of all, when you went, they've got the free app. I was like, yeah, but the bike's $2,000, so the app's free, but you've got to still buy it $2,000. But it's good you get a running one. So then I had a visual of you just in the front room with a screen, just jogging on the spot for 3 hours, just going, oh yeah, this is fine. And Matty's now talking to you. So
yeah, well, Matty and I are becoming very close. But no, so yeah, it is. I think it starts off as like you can. I think it started off as like gyms or cycle studios where you would go there and do spin classes, and then they've started doing where you can rent the bike or buy the bike, and it's like $2,000 for the bike, and then I think they can do that for free. Great, but they've now started adding in all these other classes as well that you like I say you can just run outside. And
how does he know where you are?
Annoying American.
How does he know if you've got more in you? I don't understand what Matty is doing. Well, if you 4 minutes into a run, he's going, come on, you've got more in you. I'm like, barely got started. It's all just had a sink. Anyway, so it's almost like you've got a coach, and we were going to talk about coaches tonight.
Exactly. They're all seamless.
Thank you. So
well played, sir.
You've got a free Peloton coach, Matty.
Yes. So anyway, that's all inside about. But yes, so we were going to talk about coaches, we earlier in the year we started doing some shows on like the best Test 11 of the decade and best Premier League 11 and all that kind of stuff. And this is a bit of a continuation. So, question for discussion: who is the greatest coach of all time? Do you think?
I mean, I'm obviously biased.
I was going to say, before Gareth says first...
Graham Souness, that's what I was going to say. But... or Keegan. I'm going Keegan.
I would love it.
I mean, I think football-wise, there's not only, but he's definitely obviously up there is Ferguson. Just in pure...
Yeah.
Just in...
I don't agree with you many weeks, but I'd say Ferguson has got to be up there, top 10.
Especially United. Top 10? Especially United related. I mean, 808 games managed in the Premier League, 527 wins, 65% win rate.
That's amazing, actually.
The quizzer is becoming the quiz master. Can you name the 3 next managers that have the best win percentage in the Premier League with more than 100 games?
Yeah, Wenger.
He is in third with 58%. Is Wenger?
Has Pep had enough games?
Yeah, he must.
Yeah, Pep would. Yeah, Pep.
Pep's got to be up there, surely.
He's not. That's which makes no sense.
Lies.
Klopp?
Makes no
Bullshit.
sense. Makes no sense. This. Sure.
Where have you
I'm
got
on BBC
this?
Sport, mate. This is the source.
Oh, right.
Apparently, Roberto Mancini's second with 62.
Oh, yeah.
And I suppose this is managers. We're only starting with Ferguson, right? Pep's above him, so it doesn't count in this context. You see, this is why I don't do the quizzes. I've tried one quiz with one question, failed dismally, so I am out of the quizmaster seat forever. And I'm shit at the quizzes. I don't really know.
The thing I find fascinating, obviously Ferguson started at a very different time to where we are now, but he wouldn't have lasted in today's game, would he? No. Because he had a really bad start, and even in the 80s or in the late 80s, he was saved by, was it Mark Robbins scoring a late equaliser in an FA Cup game that saved his job, and
not just any FA Cup game, an FA Cup final replay.
Yes.
Against Crystal Palace.
Oh.
That was an FA Cup game.
Don't argue with the quizmaster, he knows. I tried to take him on there and I fell on my face. I'm too scared now.
what I find back and let you crash and burn, amateur.
What's incredible is that no one's prepared to take that risk anymore, are they? Football's so much about results now, and that giving people time, giving them longevity, just isn't an option.
Do you think they'll ever change?
It's instant success. I think the money in the game's the problem, though, isn't it? That everyone's after instant gratification and return on their money, and if you don't do it straight away, for the top teams anyway, if you're not qualifying for the Champions League, and let's be honest, that's the golden goose, isn't it? Actually, winning things isn't quite as important. Yeah. In a bizarre way, that it's better to qualify for the Champions League than it is to win the FA Cup or to win the League Cup. Yeah. But if you're not getting that return from your manager, then they're just going to get rid and bring someone else in, and it's it seems crazy to me, but that's where the game is.
Unless you're Brighton and then you win 4 games and then they give you a 17-year contract, as Potter has, and then you don't win again. So they go in the opposite. They just like extreme going that way. But yeah, you're right.
It's the city of love. The city of love is just like.
It's funny. I wonder what United would have happened if Ferguson didn't. It's just a mental thought, isn't it, of him not being the manager for all those years, in some weird way.
So I was doing a bit of research before the show, and this. So obviously Ferguson is incredibly well known and respected for his success at Man United, and deservedly so. But it would be, I think, one of the reasons why he deserves to be in that very top sort of echelon of greatest coaches ever in any sport is because actually he also was successful before Man United as well. I was reading about, this is not
Aberdeen
before this evening, and St Mirren
and Scotland.
Yeah.
He's a Scotland manager.
He got the gig at Man United off the back of decent success, and Aberdeen, who beat Real Madrid in the Cup Winners' Cup and the final there, and they took, what did they get? 3 Scottish League titles. Obviously, despite Celtic and Rangers being the powerhouses that they were.
He didn't get it off the back of just. He wasn't a punt like David Moyes, who'd been decent at like a random club.
But to someone, I can't remember who it was. One of you guys said something about like he wouldn't have survived today. Here's a question for you. How much did Fergie actually change the way that football was played? Like, he was very successful, but did he change the way in which football was played? Like, perhaps maybe, Cruyff gets credit, for example, for total football. Like,
I would say it was less his impact on the style of football and more just the impact and legacy he built at the club and the way that he turned the club around and made a side that was very, very hard to beat. And he constantly evolved that team. It was, I mean, near the end, that was the one criticism, that it's almost like he lost interest in the team and he didn't pass over a team that could continue winning titles. I think there was a lot of older players there who were coming to the end of their careers, whereas during his time there, he was constantly buying in the top players, but maybe not as well known players, and then making them really, really great players in the world of football. And he brought through the youth players. I mean, that he brought in, and he just made that club huge.
Well, when he came in, he restructured the whole academy in terms of and he set that all up properly from where he wanted to go, and also, when you watch or read a lot of interviews about him, he was never the best coach, in terms of that perspective, but he was a great manager, very detailed, but he had very good coaches. And actually a lot of people, their support staff is what makes putting the right people in the right places he was good at. And I think,
so just very quickly, this was best coaches of all time.
/ manager.
I'm gonna throw that quote back in. He wasn't the best coach. He had good coaches around him.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Okay. Take him off. Actually.
He's out. But to Boyce's point there, actually, one of the things that again I read that he was respected for was not just bringing on talent or bringing it in at the right point, but getting rid of it at the right point as well. Like, a lot of players he knew when and how to get rid of them, kind of thing.
Maybe
they didn't
not
hang
how.
around. There weren't a lot of them hang. Sorry, buddy.
Well, I was going to say maybe not how. He pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah.
And his whole thing was, if you pissed him off, you were out. I mean, he had. I mean, do you think that perhaps there was part of him that knew if someone pissed him off, he couldn't almost let them back in? To save face and to
definitely
create that atmosphere within the team, he just would get rid of them, whether he rated them or not. It was because a lot of people fell out with him, didn't they?
Yeah.
Stam,
Beckham,
Keane. It's amazing.
You get boot in the face,
Robbie,
you're going to be pretty
Savage.
annoyed, aren't you? Robbie Savage. Yeah. Still love that guy. Absolute genius. But yeah. Yes.
Who else have we got then? What other contenders have we got?
The basis I'm going on is turning a team round and building that foundation that says that you've got a great team from it, not just... So I wouldn't necessarily put Pep or Klopp anywhere near it, because I don't think they've done the same kind of thing yet. I know I'm biased, but Andy Flower potentially taking a team from so low in the world and to number one.
Yeah. Good point.
I think he's got to be up there. He had a plan, he executed it. Again, he got the people around him and the right players in as well. I mean, he selected which players he wanted and which he didn't want, and they backed him up. So I'd certainly put him there.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
It's an interesting, like, what's the doc? Oh, The Edge, isn't it? On Amazon Prime, I think, about that period. And there's definitely that kind of feeling to it that he built up a system and an approach and a culture and a mentality that was very successful, but had a lifespan. Like it couldn't just keep going because it was so intense. And it was like the siege mentality that would work for a period and worked well in terms of, runs on the board, literally, but eventually burned out and burned some people out. Like, it had casualties. His regime had casualties.
And I guess, that's one of the measures, isn't it? It's what is one of the measures, just the success you have, because that was an incredible turnaround, wasn't it? But as you say, it was unsustainable, and it had a massive effect on him and other people around. But if you look at just the pure results in the time he was in charge and turned it around. That was incredible.
But is success like that sustainable at the top of sport?
Well, I guess if the question is who's the best, then that's one of the things about Ferguson, wasn't it? That he kept reinventing that. He kept that going over such a long period of time. And when his teams did drop off, which they did a couple of times, he reinvented them and came back again. And that's probably something that does make him stand out.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so here's a question. When we say then, like, reinvented, what do we mean by that? Like, did he come up with a new, like, team formation and strategy? Was it bringing in fresh players? Like, what did he do to reinvent?
I think it was building the team. With Ferguson, it was rebuilding the team, wasn't it? So that, as you say, you get a team that is world class for maybe 2 or 3 seasons, and then as they start to drop off because of either age or form or fitness or whatever it might be, for most managers through history, it's been really difficult for them to replicate that peak that they'd had. But he did it 2, if not 3 times with that Manchester United team, and that is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Because there's not many other examples of that.
I've got.
I don't remember.
No, go on, boys.
Sorry,
Go on.
No, go on.
No, go. I'm going way off.
I was just going
One of you bloody go.
I was just going to say I don't remember him changing the style of play. Particularly, it was just maybe the intensity and, as you say, bringing in new players when no one felt comfortable in the team and they were always playing to win. And what I always notice is that everyone says about those teams they just wanted to win.
Yeah.
And throughout the whole team, it was like everyone just wants to win every single game. They don't. It's not, and that mentality is like, I've always thought that's what Arsenal lacked. Like you know that even if they were up there, as soon as it got to January, February, and it was cold, dark nights, they'd start dropping points, and they'd never be up for the fight. But United would just always find a way to win.
And that I think that comes from the coach. Wenger strikes me as he actually changed a lot at Arsenal and brought in lots of really good stuff and changed their diets and their training regimes and their whole structure from the European stuff.
And their drinking clubs,
gambling, other contraband, but. Like, but I think that was the one thing that he, I was watching something on the Invincibles, and even when they started having a little wobble and they got knocked out within, I think it was a week, they got knocked out of the FA Cup and the Champions League in that season, all the players were genuinely panicking that this is like, they're going to just crumble. And the season before they crumbled and lost the league to United, there was real, and that fear kicked in. Whereas when I know it's easier because they won it in the end, but when you watch interviews with the United players, they still believed. They always believed. There was always a strange belief and I think that's instilled from Ferguson. I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw one into the mix.
Go on.
A little man called Jurgen. Jurgen Grobler.
Yeah.
Rowing coach.
With his legs. Shaking
Brother of Bruce Grobler, Jurgen Grobler has coached at least one team to rowing success at every Olympics since 1972, apart from 1984 when his team were one of those that boycotted. But from a GB perspective, he coached Redgrave and Pinsent in 92 and then to gold. And then the men's 4 have won, the British men's 4 coached by him have won every gold medal at the Olympics since 96. So 96, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016. That's just me reading out every 4 years.
That was the quiz. I could have won that one.
You talk about reinvention. Obviously, none of those boats of 4 had the same 4 people in every 4 years. They were, some of them repeated. But in terms of just, again, that longevity, that's now over, nearly 50 years of just being able to bring through repeat winners and with different people. And obviously, compare that with Sir Alex Ferguson, compare it with Andy Flower, it's really hard. But just in terms of longevity and success,
as a sporting coach,
that's amazing.
As a sporting coach, that is ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
well, if you think how much world-class elite sport has changed since 1972 as well, and without wanting to dabble too deep, he was involved in East German stuff in the 70s and 80s, which clearly has a little bit of an asterisk against it. But, the world has moved on and he's found ways to reinvent coaching and move with the world. And, I'd have him up there.
It's mad, isn't it? We joked last week about when I watched that game in 92 on the football with how heavy the ball was. You think how much that sport must have changed in that period of time, just from a equipment, training, diet, all of that. And like you say, never mind to get the same guy's mentality over and over. So like new team every time, but have the same repeated mentality. So I don't know much about him, but do you know what his, not secret is, but what makes him different to what?
No, I don't. I think it's just, he's clearly got something about him, hasn't he? As you say, it's not just one secret, because that's, as I say, that's over nearly 50 years of as you say, constant reinvention. The world's moved on, as you say, all of those things around sports science and medicine and training techniques and coaching. Everything moves on, and everyone's trying to beat them. That's the men's 4, the men's 8 are those sort of gold riband events at the Olympics that people want to win, and yet he's managed to win, obviously, for the last 20 odd years with GB, but before that with various other nations as well, and he's always found the athletes. So he clearly, probably if there is a secret, he's probably not going to let it out, is he? Because that will let it on. But yeah.
But the amazing thing about it is being able to get your teams to peak at exactly the right time, and to do it in rowing surely makes it even more amazing, because it's not like every year they're going for a gold medal and they can have a year off or anything like that. It's literally they've got to keep that intensity for 4 years and then perform, and I think it's amazing.
Well, actually, I've got a question here for Phil. What with and this is a bit of a tangent, but what with the changing of the Olympics then for a year, how much, to Boyce's point, does that completely knacker people's training regime? Because exactly like you say, it's been, since the end of the last Olympics, it's been planned to the day to hit that point, and now suddenly someone's gone, we're going to move that 365 days.
Absolutely. All athletes were, what were they, between 3 and 4 months away from peaking for something they've been working towards for 4 years. I think the knock-on effect of that, well, you've already seen it. There's a couple of British rowers have already retired because they'd have just been putting everything in, and especially some of the older ones, some of those who are, hanging on for one last year, they're already building up towards the peak for this summer, and the idea of having to do it for another year, that what you put your body through, both physically and mentally, especially in rowing, I think it will have a knock-on effect, and I think it'll be really interesting. I mean, it will for it's a level playing field around the world because it's the same, but it'd be interesting to see whether the standard across the world at the Olympics next year is as high as it normally is, just because of how much this throws it out.
I can't wait to see people running the 114 seconds or something. Just really fat people just going at it.
You should have seen
Yeah, exactly.
Story of my life.
Ollie with Matty in his ear going, "You've got another 50 metres. You can do this. Pat yourself on the back.
Stand a chance." Mate, I tell you, I've got a year. How do I qualify?
Village, that is a great shout. You've pulled an absolute worldie out the bag there.
Absolutely.
Left field. I mean, I was going to go Coach Boone from Remember the Titans. Great film. And he brings those boys together. Like, he
does.
It's bigger than football, bigger than American football. Yeah. So Coach Boone was going to be my third vote. But
what is pain? Oh, for God's sake. French bread. Come on.
I was just going to go left side, but
strong side.
Yeah,
well
there
done.
we go. Thank you.
Fear leaving the body. I don't know.
Yes. Ollie, who have you got?
Here's one for you. I've got a random one for you here.
I bet you have.
Yeah.
Matty.
Is it Matty?
Look, I'm quite worried about the Stockholm syndrome I'm going into with Matty. No, it is Richard Williams, father and coach of Serena and Venus Williams. Now, I don't think we know that much about tennis, but if you look at a guy who has ended up coaching two very, very successful, not just successful, but like redefined the sport, the way in which they played, the way in which they dominated, and the fact that actually, again, the little research I did, but like he didn't come up as being a big tennis player or anything like that, but he just taught them how to be rough, tough, and bully other players off the court, and that kind of never give up attitude, and they have absolutely dominated their sport for a long time as well. A long time.
Was he their adult coach?
There you go.
When they got to professional, was he still their coach? So he coached them through, or was there like during? Was that
fair question?
Because I don't know, because
I didn't do that much research.
It's funny, isn't it? Because technically, you always think surely at a younger age you want more technicality to be taught how to do it. But I mean, the interesting thing is, I think almost every coach we've spoken about is all about mindset and about the way they gear people up to want something versus that technical piece of it.
Yeah.
I've just on that, I've got one more to throw into the mix. And again, it's that thing about, and it's in the sport that I'm going to mention, it definitely about mindset, and it's golf, and it's Butch Harmon. Mm-hmm. So Butch Harmon was Tiger Woods' coach for his first 8, I think, majors. Yeah. So from when he was a kid through to about 2004. And they
you mean the underachieving Tiger Woods?
But I listened back to that and I'm like, I wish I'd phrased that.
If only I had one more. Yeah.
Phil's comment is like, sorry, is this segment called the underachieving 15 major winner Tiger Woods?
Sorry, carry on about Butch.
That's fine. He's worked with Phil Mickelson, Ernie Els, Stuart Sink, Greg Norman, Davis Love, Freddie Couples, Justin Leonard, Dustin Johnson, Ricky Fowler, amongst dozens of others. He is the go-to man for any professional golfer to, I'm a top PGA player, but now I want to start winning majors. Where do you go? You go to Butch. And that's, again, just the number. I was trying to find, when I was looking it up, I was trying to find whether there was anywhere someone had totted up the number of majors that could be attributed to him, and I couldn't, so I just left it. But let's be honest, it's lots.
Yeah. Again, that's interesting. But you say that it's very much, he teaches them the mindset as much as it is about technique. It's actually that mindset.
There has to be a bit of both in there, doesn't it? Clearly, he's got to be the best technical coach because golf is such a technical game, but at the same time there must be something about mindset in a sport like that where it doesn't just come down to who is the best golfer on any given day. It's who plays the course right, who plays the conditions right, who plays the opposition right, and so much of it that all of the top 50 in the world or whatever it is are unbelievable golfers in their own right, but who are the ones that win, with the exception of the fluke random ones that come out somewhere. The ones that win and consistently win are the ones who have it up there.
Well, that's why there's an interesting book called Q School, which is it's about qualifying school, and they play 6 rounds over 6 days to get into the PGA to qualify, and it's the book's really good because it follows 4 golfers through it, and it's all mind. They're all good golfers.
Really?
At that level, they are ridiculous golfers. But there is a different thing about being able to get someone's head into the right space and actually talking about that, peak at the right time. To turn up on that weekend and be informed to play well is something that is hard to be able to reckon. It must be a good feeling, right? Going to bed every night going, I am without a doubt, probably the best golf coach in the world. And if these blokes who are world ridiculous at different level, they come to me because they want to get better, that must be a good feeling.
You can hire him. You can hire him for an hour, Butch. I looked it up.
How much?
How much would you? $1,500 an hour.
I think that's all right.
I mean, Should we all chip in and get?
We get 15 minutes.
20 minutes each.
By the time you've loosened up and got your grip on
How
it.
many hours do we need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much is
Just
Tiger
15
Tiger Woods worth? Because
Yeah,
divide that
we'll
by
take
the hour
that
rate.
percentage of that.
I don't know. I think 1,200 quid an hour is all right. I think it's all right.
Yeah.
Do you think he must do a package if you get 10 hours or something? He must do a deal.
Oh yeah.
By 9 hours, get the 10th hour free.
Yeah.
It's got like a little stamp system as you turn up.
Do you have a winter special?
Do I get a twilight round with this round of lessons? Yeah, but you pulled out some crackers.
Yes.
Don't you?
Do we have a consensus?
My only last one was going to be Bill Belichick, who's the New England Patriots coach.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
He's been there. Talking about longevity, he's been at the Patriots since 2000. And he again completely changed that franchise, the way they operated, the way they trained. He was defining during his career, he had a 68% win rate. 300
Better than Pep.
No, that's a fact. I've got this on BBC Sports.
He's
304 victories and 137 losses in his career, which in that game and over 20 years, again, 19 years, longevity.
I think the brilliant thing about that is, that's a sport, like American sport, is set up to not allow, maybe not repeat
dominance,
winners, but to not allow dynasties. The way the draft systems work are supposed to keep an even playing field. So for someone to have that repeated success by deflating the balls and cheating for that long.
He evolved with the
game. His cheating evolved.
Good shout.
Yeah.
Good shout.
Yeah,
it's my left field. So we got anyone else in the mix? So we've got to vote now.
Okay, go on then. Okay, let's.
We haven't said any rugby coaches, have we?
No. Have you got one?
Is there no one that Woodward did for England? What turn the team around again, similar to Flower? I'd say.
Yeah, true.
Rebuild the system.
And I think he falls into that category of more like strategic manager rather than technical coach.
That's next week's episode. Who's the best strategic manager? Ferguson, Woodward.
but like Woodward like almost took like a very business strategy approach. Like our goal is to win the World Cup on 22nd November 2003, and everything built towards that. And he had great coaches in place to work with the players and all that. But he was very much about the mentality of that squad and that team.
You got
and he timed it perfectly.
Well, you got Rusty Erasmus. It's just turned aside right round. Yeah. Actually, there's a documentary coming out on the South African World Cup. If you want to, I'll send you the link. Don't worry, I'll send you the link.
Too soon.
Not on the cricket team. It's a sad documentary. But Jake,
there was the random one. Sorry, random one for you. Phil Jackson, the NBA coach, who won, I think, 11 titles with the Bulls and then the Lakers.
Yeah.
But again, it's one of those things like he was coaching the Bulls when they had Jordan and Pippen. It's like, well done, but it's pretty much Jordan.
Well, it's like Hansen for the All Blacks, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what the thing with the All Blacks. Like the All Blacks as a team, arguably one of, if not the most successful sporting organisation in the world, incredible consistency, that kind of stuff, and have continued to reinvent themselves era after era after era. But I don't know if many All Black coaches necessarily can stand up as being amazing coaches of all time. You look at the teams that get on the park for the All Blacks. You're like, I could.
Yeah, that's my theory. I think I could keep them top 3 in the world. At least I could keep them top 3. Imagine New Zealand now ranked 17th with Gareth Lautenberg as the coach. But my God, it's fun. My God, it's fun.
I know we're running low, but even if we don't talk about him, for any length of time. Just to mention Brian Clough for the quote, I wouldn't say I'm the greatest manager of all time, but I'm in the top one.
That's good.
Actually, that does a total random question now, or sort of point of view. I know we've been rambling on, but what about great coaches who haven't necessarily had great success of winning trophies, but have become the best at what they do, like the relegation survivors? Like there are coaches, like in the Premier League, for example, who've got a reputation of, right, shit, we're in the bottom 5, get him in. We need to
We need Tony Pulis.
Yeah, I'm glad you've brought Palace into this. I completely agree.
And you mean Sam Allardyce?
And Sam Allardyce and Hodgson.
But there aren't there? There are coaches who have properly built a reputation, whether they meant to or not, but they have built that reputation of, I'll get you through.
It's like the reverse Butch Harmon, isn't it? You're good, but you're not, instead of winning, you just don't want to get kicked off the PGA. You go to Sam Allardyce or Tony Pulis.
But I think they show how hard it actually is to get a team playing in a good enough way to survive. They don't have all the top players and they don't have the money behind them, but they're still consistently able to keep teams up and reinvent those teams and tighten them up to enable them to stay in the league. So I completely agree. I think that is it's a different kind of coach, but it should definitely be brought up there. Because, I mean, what's to say Pep's won loads of trophies, but he's won them with Barcelona, Bayern Munich and Man City. Yeah. Every team has got the top players. As you say, they could, a lot of coaches could win stuff with that calibre of player in the team, but there's something about them that pushes them above it.
I mean, I could keep Man City in the Premier League, I reckon.
Top 17 at least.
17. I mean, I'd relegate Liverpool. I'd relegate Liverpool intentionally. Well, actually, I can't say intentionally. I might relegate Liverpool.
I would love to see Pep, however, Pep managing Palace away in the winter up at Hull or something like that, desperately trying to get a point. That'd be amazing.
They've been relegated.
Yeah. I mean, they're playing them. They've gone to the wrong team. So.
Not again.
Yeah. So he's got terrible at directions, Pep. I'll tell you that much. Okay.
He's used to someone driving the bus. He's now the bus driver.
Okay, let's wrap this shindig up with a final. You've got to choose one out of.
Are we going to wrap this up?
Yeah.
We're not going to.
No, we've got to wrap it up.
Okay, we can choose one. Okay. Who wants to go for Fergie?
Who's going first? Who?
I'm gonna vote for Fergie.
For Fergie, I'm going for Fergie as well.
I think he is the most successful.
It's tough. It's tough because Phil's throwing some mixtures in here.
Yeah, I think genuinely really hard to compare across sports because So I'll just to make it different, I'm going to vote for my man Jurgen.
Well, it's funny.
For his longevity.
Your pitch was excellent. I was going to go for Bruce Scrobbler's third cousin removed, but the podcast is called All About the Balls, so I can't because there's no balls in. Well, there are balls technically in the boat,
Jurgen, hang on,
but
cocks.
They're called cocks, aren't they? No.
Another quiz.
But yeah, I think I'm going to go. I can't narrow it down really, but it's either Harmon, Grobler, or Fergie. So I'm going to go Harmon to be interesting, just because I think he is just ridiculously good, and the respect that man has across a very difficult sport. I'm going to go with that. So you can discuss your rule changes next week, Oliver.
Boise. Well, we need to get Boise's vote.
He's on Fergie.
Oh, I'm going Fergie.
Fergie?
Yeah.
Black Eyed Peas. Yeah, he's gone for Fergie.
She's underrated as a sport.
Yes. She could keep
Man City out.
Be terrible with the All Blacks. She would do dismally at the All Blacks, I'll tell you. So
we're not touching that comment.
boys.
Now, we were meant to do rule changes, and we were going to do a quiz.
We're going to do a quiz later in the week. Remember,
we'll do a quiz in the next show. So let's wrap up this puppy. And we'll tease the quiz for the next show. So for now, gents, it's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed that discussion.
Yeah, it was good.
I'm impressed by the research from all of us, actually. I think that might be the first time ever we've all done some research.
I mean,
you've mistaken research for knowledge again, but good. Carry on.
Well, I don't have the knowledge, and I tried to research and got the complete wrong list of things. So, but I hope everyone enjoyed that ramble, and go well, you three.
Love it.
Cheers.
Go well.
Cheers.